Al, and now I'm recording. And let's get on with the stuff here. Okay, so mental management in archery. First, I want to say a little thing here that this webinar is about what I have found out in the mental game to be a good way to keep on your mental top-notch game. These techniques that I found work for me. Maybe it doesn't work for you. I'm not going to say it's going to work for everyone, but you can take from this meeting here whatever you want, and you can discard whatever you want. That's fine by me. I have no trouble in anyone saying that's a load of rubbish what you're saying. That's fine. It did work for me, and I know that it has worked for someone else. I'm not a psychologist. I have no degrees whatsoever in psychology. This is something that I've just learned from shooting archery and reading some books, and also writing a book. So, but then again, if you don't win your next competition, even if you do use the stuff that I'm going to talk about, it's not my fault. So you just have to try harder. So my motto is, of course, if at first you don't succeed, well, try doing what your archery coach told you to do. This is me. This is a picture of me when I was shooting in Barcelona in 1992. An old bow, but it works. So I'm going to tell you a little about myself first. And in 1987, that's when I picked up my first bow. I was at a local club where I lived. And in 1990, so 3 years later, I was at the World Championships for disabled. I have bad feet, so I walk funny, but I'm not going to walk just now, so that's fine. And I became number 7 at these World Championships. And my shooting was quite bad. Well, not bad, but it was, the scores that I was getting were quite much lower than I was usually getting at even tournaments here in Denmark. So I was kind of disappointed about my scores, but 7th place is not really bad for a world championship after being shooting for 3 years. So I was kind of chuffed to be there, but I was kind of disappointed about my scores. And I'm going to get on about later about how I figured out what to do about it. As you can see, the next year I did something about it, because I was then the gold medalist at the European Championships, and in 92, the gold medalist at the Paralympic Games. And I won the gold in 93 and 94 at Nordic and European Championships. And after 96, there was, I didn't even put that on here, but I was number 5 at the Paralympic Games in 1996. And after that, I more or less quit shooting, not because I didn't like shooting, not because I was only number 5 at the Paralympic Games, but because that's the time that I was also getting a job. So I had to actually earn money, because shooting archery at my time didn't pay any bills at all. But in 2019, I coached a bunch of kids that was going to the Nordic Youth Championships with great success on the mental side of this. And in 2020, so this year, I wrote the book, Choose to be a Winner. And of course, I'm going to tell you a little about this book here. So the book is, of course, about the mental game for archers, but it's also for other sports. You just have to switch the words bow for racket or whatever you want for your sport. But also for anything else in life. I've just an hour ago had a webinar on preparing for exams at a school. So you can use even the book for that, but you might have to be a little bit creative to do that. But the principles are basically the same, whether or not you're an archer or doing something else. The way that I wrote this book is from experience of the books that I read back when I was shooting. You should have a pencil in your hand when you read this book, because you are going to add notes to it. And actually, I have in the book put a lot of blank pages. I've been told off for that, but I don't care. There are 180 pages in the book, and 150 of them have something printed on them. So the rest are blank. And so the 30 blank pages actually meant for you to write your notes in. And the same with the gutter. There's place in the gutter for writing notes also. There are a lot of practical exercises inside of the book, and there are some accompanying audio files and also a training journal. And you can download those from the website for free, whether or not you have the book, that's fine. When I wrote the book, during the three names at the top here, Dennis Bayer, Maya Jaeger, and Martin Damsbo, and you've probably heard of maybe all three of them, but Dennis Bayer has been on the national squad here in Denmark for 5 decades. 5 decades, that's a long time. Maya Jaeger was the world champion of Olympic archery in 2013. And Martin Damsbo was the first archer ever to be in the Club 50 of the World Cup games. So he was the first one to have been there 50 times. For the English translation, because I wrote the book in Danish, I had help from David Martel. So if you're here, David, thank you very much. That was a tremendous help and a tremendous effort you put into that. And I was quite chuffed to see that Rick McKinney actually recommends my book. If you don't know who Rick McKinney is, you should look that up. He has been an Olympic attendee 4 times. He missed the 1980 Olympic Games because they were held in Moscow, and at that point of time, the United States decided to boycott the Olympic Games because it was held in Moscow. And all of the illustrations in the book are by Peter Peterson. And I have the site where you can go and get the stuff. I'm going to just open up real quick here to show you what you can do, because the site is in Danish and also in English. So this is the site where you can read about the book. There's also where you can buy it. This is the important bit, of course. So please click on these links and buy the book. That would be a great idea, because otherwise I won't get any money for buying Christmas presents from. I'm just kidding. You can buy it if you want to. But in here, there are audio tracks. So if you click on the audio tracks here, you can get and download these different audio tracks. And I've got some basic ones for just learning to relax, and then going on with mental energy and competition preparation and shooting in finals and stuff like that. And there's also a journal. And for some reason, this is going really slow. Okay, there we go. It's going. Okay, I'll just quit this, because there you can download an example of the training journal that I refer to also in the book. So you can download that for free for print yourself. What is the mental game? So what is the mental game anyway? In any sport, if you're trying to do something, the mental game of the sport is to plan your training in the most feasible way that you can do, and of course to keep maintain a positive attitude, because if you have a negative attitude while you're at a game, while you're doing your sports, it's going to affect you. Now I always ask my attendees, but I'm aware that being on a webinar, this is really kind of difficult. So I'm just going to ask you, and you don't have to answer. But if you do believe, in fact, that maintaining a positive attitude at any sports is going to help you in a positive manner, then think about also what would it mean to have a negative attitude at any sports or games. That is going to affect you in a negative manner. And I really, really, really do believe that this is so. At competitions, you need to perform, and you need to perform at the correct time. So when I was at the Paralympic Games in Barcelona in 1992, I knew that I was at my peak. I knew that I was at that moment shooting the best I could of my abilities. So I wasn't shooting for 1440 out of 1440 round, of course not, but I was shooting the best that I could, and I knew that it was peaking at that moment. I knew that I was not peaking 2 weeks later or 2 weeks before, and that was kind of important for me, because I couldn't at the Paralympic Games tell them, oh, could you please wait for a week until we have the finals, because I need to peak first. So that won't work, and you need therefore to be able to plan your training so that you can peak at the correct time. And of course, then you have to handle those pressure situations because nowadays, and it's been so for almost 30 years, when you're at an archery tournament, you have the qualifying round. And then after the qualifying round, you're going to have the final rounds. And the final rounds are quite different than the qualifying rounds. Pardon me. So I have in the toolbox a lot of different things that can help you. But then also it's the level where you are, because if you're shooting in your own backyard, as a lot of us are at this moment, because we have this COVID-19 thing going on. So you're shooting at your own backyard, and there's no pressure at all. If you go to the club, there might be a little bit of pressure because, well, your teammates and your club mates are going to look at you maybe, and maybe even comment on your shooting style or on your points. If you go to a tournament or a local tournament, just a small local tournament with say 40, 50 archers there, it's a bit higher level, and you're going to be a little bit more nervous, but maybe not very much nervous, and it'll keep on going on and adding to your, maybe you will get some performance anxiety the higher level of tournament that you get to. But one thing is absolutely clear: when you get to the highest level that you can get to, you will probably not be attending that level of archery very many times as compared to how many times you're going to be shooting at your club. So what I'm getting at here is shooting at your club might be easier performance-wise because you've done it quite a lot of times. So what about the Olympic Games or the World Championships, or maybe even just the national championships? Well, the national championships here in Denmark, they're held once a year for outdoors, and they're held once a year for indoors. But we have loads and loads of different other tournaments. So I've only been at the national championships so many times, but I've been at a lot of different tournaments many, many more times. So I'm used to shooting the local tournaments, but I'm not so used to shooting the nationals or the Olympic Games. I've actually been to the Paralympic Games twice only in my life. And Rick McKinney is one of the people that I know who has been 4 times, and 4 times is not very many. But I will say that I have in my head been at the Paralympic Games in Barcelona at least 1,000 times. I have shot the Paralympic Games, the qualifying round, which was a full feature at that time, 90, 70, 50, and 30 meters, in my head at least 1,000 times. And I've shot the finals at least 1,000 times also. So those things are in the toolbox of my mental management things. So to be able to plan your goals, you need to first differentiate what are dreams and what are goals, because let's face it, not everyone gets to the Olympic Games, but everyone, or nearly everyone, have a dream of going to the Olympic Games. And I was one of the lucky ones that actually did get through the cut. But for most people, it is a dream to go to the Olympic Games. So until that's a reality, treat it as a dream and not as a goal. And then after that, get reflection on what is the difference between these dreams and the goals. So a goal could be any local tournament, or maybe a goal, I'm going to prepare for the next outdoor national championships, or the national or the regional championships, whatever level you're at. So find whatever goal that you want, and then this is going to be kind of your goal. But then again, also you need to reference and distinguish the difference between what is a ranking goal, a performance goal, and a process goal. So the things that I see as things that I cannot be in control of. So I cannot be in control of what number at any given tournament I'm going to finish up as. I want to win. Yeah, I want to be number 1, but I'm not in control of that. I could shoot 150 points in the finals round with a compound bow and still not win the competition because I'm shooting against someone who also shoots 150 points, and in the shoot off, he might win. So I have no influence whatsoever on what number of any given tournament that I'm going to be. Okay, so let's say that I can't influence that. So the next thing maybe people think that I could influence is, oh, okay, but on the next indoor tournament, I want to shoot 572 points at least. I could set that as a goal, and a lot of people do actually set this as a goal, number of points, and say, I want to shoot 572 points at this tournament. Well, it is a goal, but I really have the belief that you can't influence how many points you get. Well, that's kind of does sound a bit stupid because I'm aiming at the 10 ring and I'm shooting the arrow, but I really, really, really cannot influence where my arrows are going to hit. I can, however, influence how to shoot the arrow. So what I would like to differentiate between here is the performance goals versus the process goals. So if I, instead of saying I want to have 572 points at this given tournament, I would say I want to shoot my 60 arrows and I want 70% of them, or 50 or 85, to be shot perfectly. It's kind of a high bar to set if you want all 60 arrows to be shot perfectly. I know some of you can do so, or some people indeed can do so, and that's fine, but they might be at a different level, but go whatever level you are at. So if you're a beginner, maybe you have, I want to shoot 6 of my arrows at this tournament to be shot very, very, very good. I want to feel the good feeling of the shot to be excellent. So that could be very different for archer to archer. So I like to have a goal that I have to work for to achieve it. So I'm going to set the bar high enough that I'm not just relaxing and then achieving the goal. I have to work for it to actually achieve that goal. Okay. So this is planning on the on the mental side of stuff, that I need to have a goal that I can work for, and I need to only have a goal that I actually can influence on. Like, for instance, I couldn't even go to an outdoor tournament and say I want to shoot without it raining. So I'm not in charge of it raining. I am in charge of how I shoot while it's raining. I could go to a tournament and say my goal is, I live in Denmark, so it's raining more than half of the tournaments here. And my goal for the tournament can be, I'm going to enjoy the shoot even though it's raining. Now, to help you plan the stuff here, I think that you need to have a training journal. And a training journal is a very personal thing. You can take whatever you want from the example that I have provided on my website. You can download it as it is, print it out, use it if you want to, or you can go to Amazon or any of the other sites and buy it. And I've set it at almost print cost. So this is a £5 in the English money, a £5 book. And I would recommend that you at least have something like a training journal. It does not have to be my training journal. You can do whatever you want. Some of the things that I like to have in a training journal is something about your gear, that you write down what gear you have, where the sight marks are, what kind of bow do you have, what's the poundage, but also what clothes do you wear when you go to a given tournament or go to practice. Do I need to have extra shoes and all that? You need to have your cap and all that stuff. So you have to write down everything that you're bringing onto your competitions or your trainings. I also put down my dreams and my goals there. And of course, there's the thing called words of wisdom. So one of the words of wisdom things that I really, really like is that the most important arrow at a training session or at a tournament is the one that's currently knocked. And what I mean about that is, if I'm going to shoot this arrow and I'm going to make this arrow, I'm going to try as hard as I can to make this arrow fly perfectly because I'm going to execute the shot as best as I can, then I'm going to get a lot of points. I know I'm going to get a lot of points because this one arrow counts. As soon as it's gone, as soon as it's shot, of course, then I reflect, was this a good shot? Yeah, okay, fine, good. I'll mark this down as a good shot, or maybe semi-good, but it's gone. So now I start over again, clean slate. I'll take another arrow up, put it on the string, and now this arrow is the most important arrow there is. Now, I want this one to be the most important arrow because the ones that I'm going to shoot tomorrow at the final rounds, they're not important now. They're important tomorrow. But I have to make it through the qualification round before I get to the finals. So this one arrow is the one that's most important. Okay, then there are also golden moments. Have you ever tried, even at practice or at a tournament, have you tried having that feeling that everything is just working, right? You pick up the bow and you shoot 6 arrows and you feel, oh, this was just brilliant. These shots were excellent and they hit the middle and everything is fine and the sun is shining and I can smell the grass and everything is really, really, really good to me at this moment. That is a golden moment, right? So I want to remember these golden moments, and I will try as best as I can to take the feeling that I have and write it down in my training journal. And then I would try to, in my memory, visualize this exact moment and remember it and keep on remembering it. Because the next time I get to a tournament and I need to have this feeling, I really like to have this feeling, then I can just grab back in my memory and look in my book, look in my training journal and see, oh, yeah, this is the feeling that I'm striving for. So my phone is trying to get into this conversation with the automatic phone thing. I'm not going to say her name because then she'll try and meddle up again. So this golden moment, and when I was getting help from David Martel to actually translate this book into English, I had written a lot about smelling the grass and all that stuff. And he said that he actually also used smelling the grass by picking it up physically, plucking some grass off the ground and then mashing it in your fingers and then smell it, because the smell, as I also have written in the book, is is going to help you trigger your memory to get it back. So once you get to the next tournament, you start by picking up some grass and then smell that, and you're going to automatically, nearly automatically, get that same back, that same feeling again of this golden moment. You've probably done similarly when you were a kid. You're going back to your grandmother's house for Christmas, and you know that your grandmother's going to make your favorite dish and whatever. So you can smell it, and as soon as you smell that dish somewhere else, you can instantly taken back to your grandmother's house. Of course, I also put competitions and details about my shot and everything that I can think of into my training journal. Okay, so I'm going to do a very, very small, easy exercise. Don't think about anything. Now, just don't think about anything at all, especially not a pink elephant. Okay, I'm betting that half of you now have a pink elephant inside of your head. And it's because it's really, really hard to not think consciously about a specific thing, because I need to not think about a pink elephant will automatically get you thinking about a pink elephant. You need to train your mental skills in the same manner as you train your muscles. So you hit the fitness gym, you run for cardiovascular, you shoot a lot of arrows for shooting and getting strength and getting your body ready for shooting arrows and all of that stuff. And you need to do the same with your mind. And to get you started, I've showed you already, there are some audio files on my website. And if you download those, you can more easily, if you haven't tried this before, get started on what actually to do, because just thinking about nothing is kind of hard, but you need to train mentally. And going go ahead and get those audio files. Start with the basic ones if you haven't tried it before. The basic ones are just learn to relax. You have to learn to relax first. And then after that, then you have to get on with some visualization that is a part of mental training. Okay, so visualization is, the word is for me a little bit wrong, because something visual is what I see with my eyes, but visualization is much more than what I see. You have to have also your smell, your feel, and your taste buds, your sound, and everything. And a lot of people say, but it's really, really, really difficult to visualize. And I say, yeah, you have to visualize yourself shooting a bow. How? Okay, so, and this is why I like the visualization today as opposed to when I was shooting, because now everyone has a mobile phone and with a camera on, so you can just use your camera, film yourself, get someone to film you, film your loose or your hand or whatever, and then watch that film over and over and over again, and then close your eyes and keep watching it, and now you're in the process of visualizing something. A visualization is very much like a dream, and I know that dreaming is what a lot of people do when they sleep. But the thing about a dream is it is not something that you're in control of. So the dream will control you. But I'm guessing that most of you have at some point in time woken up in the middle of the night panting, your body is full of adrenaline, and you're maybe breaking into a sweat. Um, this is because you have dreamed something, maybe something scary, I don't know, but you've dreamed something and it caused a physical reaction. So a physical reaction can actually come from a dream. And I'm stating here that visualization is the same as a dream. So what I say is that you can, with visualization, have a physical reaction. And that is actually true. I know it sounds like bollocks, but isn't. It's true. You can visualize your shot. And at these COVID-19 times, when we can't actually go shooting anywhere, you should pay a lot of attention to visualizing your shot, because you will send signals to your muscles, and the muscles will they of course will not actually perform a shot, but if you're just relaxing, but the muscles will receive the signals. This is what it looks like, this is what it looks like, and you're going to continue hammering those signals to your muscles, and your subconscious will automatically do the stuff correctly. So it's marvelous. You just have to get used to using visualization. And as I put on the slide here, don't expect miracles. This takes practice, but as soon as you've got it, as soon as you've got how to visualize, you can visualize anywhere. When I was shooting back in the 90s and 80s, I would at a bus stop sit and wait for a bus, and I would shoot a couple of final rounds in my head, visualizing and smelling and listening and everything. I would also say that you can, in a visualization, you could go ahead and look at some YouTube videos. If you have a favorite archer that you really like the way that this archer has his loose, so he's shooting and it goes like that, and you love it because it's the way that you want it, right? So you can look at the video of this other archer, and then you can inside of your head substitute his hand with your hand, and then have the same natural loose going on over and over and over and over and over again. And you're telling your body and your mind, this is how this is done. I'm going to get into detail a little bit later that at some point in time, when you're at competitions, your conscious mind is going to actually take over, but I'm going to tell you how to get your conscious mind not to do that. Okay, so there's also something called the inner conversation. Now, when we think, we actually, at least I do, I think in a sentence. So I would say something to myself inside of my head, and I would probably also answer myself. So I have an inside conversation that's going on, and I want to stress out for you all that we need to have the inside conversation in a positive tone. Now, if you start, if you have a bad shot, a lot of people have done this. You shoot a shot and you go, maybe even out loud, oh, something swear word, and you're mad at yourself and you say, pull yourself together. Come on, you can do better. Come on, you're bad. Come on. And this has a negative effect on you. I had a training session with some kids once, and during lunch, I just said to them, uh, I've got a good idea. I'm going to start talking bad to you. I'm going to start telling you all off and telling archers off when they're on the shooting line. If they have a bad shot, I'm going to say, you worthless piece of whatever, and you really stink at shooting archery. You should actually pack up your gear and go home instead. And they were horrified, and they looked at me and said, no, 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 you can't do that. You can't. This is horrible. Don't do that. Well, why not? I said, it's purely motivation, because then they have to pick themselves up, and then they have to brush me off, and they have to say, I don't care what you say, you stupid coach, and blah, blah, blah. But they were horrified. And then I said, well, I asked them to actually explain to me why. And they said, well, because people will get offended and it will be demotivating. It will not be a motivation talk. It will be a demotivating talk. So after they explained to me why I should not talk to them like that, I then asked them, well, why do you do it to yourselves? And after that, I haven't heard any of those kids swear at themselves on a shooting line, because they now know this is a demotivation talk. So you should not swear at yourself. You should not tell yourself off. You should talk to yourself in a positive manner instead. There's also, inside of the inner conversation, there are some other aspects here also. And one of the other aspects is that, have you ever been up at full draw, you pick up and you're full draw, and then suddenly hear yourself say, come on, come down, you can't do this. You've got this voice in one side of your head, and then you've got another voice on the other side of the head, actually very much like the picture that's on the screen. And what you see is that you have these two voices, and they're contradicting each other. One of them is say, come down, and the other one is say, no, 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 you can keep pulling and just shoot. So you're standing there and you're arguing with yourself. I guess that most of you have tried that. What I haven't shown on this picture, but there is actually, on those two voices that you have that are arguing, if you turn them around, you'll see there's a volume button on them. There is, it's true. And you can turn one of them up and the other one down, even while you're at full draw. So you just turn the one down you don't want to listen to on the volume button, and then turn the other one up. You can visualize these voices with volume buttons. And then you can get rid of the one that you really don't want. Okay, so the inner conversation is about the positive attitude, but also when you're at a tournament, you suddenly get this weird idea that you have to think about, what are we going to have for supper tonight when I get home? Or at work, I have this and this problem I need to solve, or what am I going to get my nephew for birthday? Now, all of these ideas might be relevant, but not while you're at an archery tournament. Then they're not relevant. So a way to get this stuff out of the way is to write them down in the training journal, or even just on a piece of paper. And when you've written down on a piece of paper, you can put that piece of paper in your tackle box. And then you still have this idea, you still have this thought, but it's not relevant at the moment. Okay, so we're just over half an hour in the session here in this webinar, and I want to have a break in about 5-10 minutes, but are there any questions on what we have talked about so far? If you have any questions, put them in the chat, or just grab the microphone, and then I'll see if I can answer. So if on the stuff that I've been through, are there any questions on here or any comments? You might have a story of something similar that you want to share. Okay, no comments or questions. Okay.
Yeah, I've got one.
You've got a question. Okay.
Yeah, just what kind of things are you thinking in your head just before you make your shot? So, do you have like a mantra or anything like that?
Yeah. So when I'm at the shooting line, whether or it's a tournament or a training session, I would, of course, start by knocking one arrow, and then I know to myself, this arrow is the most important arrow there is. And I would, at the most times, I would actually close my eyes and then see myself shooting a shot from within. So I'm visualizing my body doing the correct thing, and I'm not doing it as if someone had recorded me. I'm doing it from within my own head. So I'm looking at my arm. I can see and I can feel everything inside of my head, and I would shoot the shot inside of the head. And of course, shooting it inside of my head is going to make it more or less easy. And then I would, after I've shot the shot inside of my head, I would shoot the shot physically. Then I would reflect on that shot, and I would knock another arrow, and then I would count slowly to 10. And the reason I'm counting slowly to 10 between shots is to clear the old shot. That's one of the things, but also to give myself a rest between arrows, because otherwise I'll just pick the next arrow up and shoot it. And then at the end of the day, I'm going to be too knackered to get the shots done properly, because you need at least 10 seconds or something in between the shot. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, so for you, it's more of a visualization rather than, saying words or something like that. It's more of it's a visualization.
Yeah, I could do
Okay.
both. Sometimes I've just I could have a song inside of my head instead, and for some reason I've been forever having the song from Mary Poppins, Chim Chimney Chiroo by Dick Van Dyke. And I don't know very much of the song, but just a couple of lines from that song, and I'll just turn that off in my head, and then that would kind of give me the break, and then I'll go back into the shot and then shoot the shot.
I was just interested in the little thing that you said about counting to 10 after the shot, just so that you've got a bit of a transition between the two shots.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good thing I might employ myself.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
So
thanks for that.
Take whatever you want from this webinar and use it for yourself. And if you find some of it to be a lot of rubbish, just leave it.
I'll let somebody else ask a question now. I think there's some on the chat.
Yeah, someone from, so Martin asked, how do you stop unhelpful thoughts like thinking about the score? I mean, what do you think once this unhelpful thought has happened? So yes, you think about the score, and especially at a final, you would think about the score. So what I would do there is, if I visualize my memory or my thinking ability, like a glass, I'm holding up a glass, but I don't know if you can see it, whatever. So you think of a glass or a cup. This is my thought stuff. So if it's empty, I can have some thoughts. I can put some thoughts in. Unfortunately, some unhelpful thoughts would also come into my glass or my cup. I could have filled it up myself. So I would, in this respect, I would then be thinking consciously on something else than the score, because I might even put a pink elephant in there instead, because if I'm thinking about the pink elephant, I'm not thinking about the score. And so I would push the score stuff away. I could also think of, there are some other good techniques of actually getting rid of the score. You can physically have it inside of your head and then wrap it in a box. You can put this score in your head, or even do it physically. Okay, so I'm thinking about my score. That's fine. Write it on a piece of paper and put paper in your tackle box. Now you've you've moved your thought to your tackle box, and you know you don't need it until you're finished with the competition. So there are different ways that you can do so. And Sarah says that she is glad that someone else has a song inside of their head. And the song actually reminded me, if you do have an unhelpful thought, I'm thinking about the score, or I suck at this, I really suck at archery, I don't want to do this. You need to get rid of those thoughts. You can also just start by saying stop. Okay, just say to yourself, stop, inside of your head. And if you find a good idea, you can get stop and then continue it with a song like stop in the name of love or whatever. And then you sing that song inside of your head, and it'll get your unhelpful thoughts pushed away, and it should be helpful. Okay, so any more questions at the moment? Because otherwise I'm going to have a 10-minute break so everyone can go to the loo or whatever they want to do. And the next session will be on the other link that I sent in the Facebook thing. So when I got this Zoom stuff here, I found out that there was a limit on 40 minutes, but I did get a pop-up that the limit has been removed for some reason. I don't know why. But in case someone wants to join in and they haven't had time yet, so I'm gonna ask you all to join in the second meeting as soon as okay. So in 10 minutes, it's now 10:45. So sorry, 2:45 on my clock. So in 10 minutes, it's 5 minutes to the next hour. So I'll see you there, okay? And I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to stop the recording.